Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Slot. Today I have Nico all the way from Austria. He's the slot car dude and he's going to talk to us today. Nico, thank you for being here and how are you, my friend?
Thanks a lot for inviting me, for having me. I'm very well. Always happy to have a chat on slot cars.
Awesome. First things first, you're from Austria. Did you grow up
Right?
there? Have you always lived in Austria?
Yes, I always lived in Austria. Yep. Always been a resident here and lived here for my entire life. Yep.
Awesome. So then the next obvious question is how is your English so good?
I have to admit that when at the age of like 10, my parents sent me off to the UK because they had friends there. And they said, well, for the future, you need to learn English, which was right. I've got a job where I need a lot of English now. I don't know whether I got the job because I know so English so well or because of other things, but that's a different story. They they sent me off since I was 10 till the age of like 15, always during summer holidays. I spent like minimum 2 to 4 weeks in the UK, and I started to, in the end, being a German speaking native, I started to dream in English when I was asleep.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, so that's how it all started, and I still live from that today,
It's
so to say.
awesome. It's just because I see a lot of I stumble upon a lot of German channels and YouTubes and and I'm
Yeah,
watching like the subtitles sometimes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I just find that the um, in Germany, and I don't know if it's because Carrera is originally from Germany, and then like we spoke about, you said it's Austrian. So
yeah,
as to find an Austrian who can actually speak and talk about Carrera cars and slot cars I mean, it was such a novelty for me to be like, oh, finally, somebody from literally the motherland that I can get the good information from. So my next
yeah.
question is, how is the slot car scene in Austria?
Um, let's put it that way. The club scene is slowly dying, drying out, I would say.
Okay.
But the the track system that Carrera sells best is Carrera Go.
Really?
So
Okay.
yes, I don't have the figures on hand, but I know from last year's report, the system they sell best all over the world is the Carrera Go. Now, being European, if you go to like a European supermarket, you might even find a Carrera Go there. They push very
Okay.
hard before Christmas.
Okay.
Um, and then there is the 32 and 24 scale, of course. They used to do HO, by the way.
Okay.
I have a 70, it was in the 70s. I have a Carrera, original Carrera HO track
Get out.
system still in the original box out of the 70s. It was called Carrera 160, so like the scale 1 to 64, 160. Yes, but coming back to your original question,
It's okay.
sorry, don't let me talk so long about one topic. I'll skip
No,
off
it's all
anyway.
good. This is what it's all
But
about.
um, the club scene is dying, which means all people like my age, which is like 50 plus,
Hmm.
once had a Carrera track under the Christmas tree or for their birthday. And they had it as a kid, they loved it. Other things became more interesting. I don't know, like motorbikes, cars, girls, and so on. So the Carrera track went into the basement or underneath the roof and forgot about it. And
Okay.
then there was the club scene coming up, which was quite good, also in the 60s,
Okay.
70s. Um, but there are still many home tracks around, very
Okay.
many. People having a fixed track in their basement
Okay.
or in the
Uh,
garage.
do you
Yes,
have a lot of friends that come over to the house? Like, what's the scene at your place? Is it mostly family? Is it just friends? Is it just who's involved
I,
in your
I,
community?
I club race, which means we're very lucky. We've got two clubs in the vicinity of Salzburg, where I live,
Okay.
um, all with minimum 4 lane Carrera tracks.
Wow. Okay.
We've got a routed 4 lane track in the vicinity in our club as well. Um, but it's getting harder and harder to um, get people to come there on a regular basis, maybe get a little involved,
Hmm.
than just, popping by like once a year, saying, I always wanted to do this again, and then you never see them again. So the thing is, keeping a club alive is getting more and more complicated. And of course, it's also the price of space,
Yeah.
which is horrendous. And I think that's what we all share. If you want to set up a decent club track, you need space. This
Yeah.
kind of
Even
space you
just a
don't have
home
at
track.
home.
Do you have a track at your
Exactly.
place? Do you have a track in your home?
Uh, Very classical. I don't have the space to have a 4-lane HO track
Okay. There you go.
in my basement.
That's fine.
Plus,
That's
I
a
have
track.
an HO drag strip with full timing.
A drag strip on top of that. That's awesome. That's awesome. So how did you? So speaking about your HO track at the place and your club tracking, how did you get into slot cars? You were mentioning that people, for Christmas and the track, and you get, is it just that one?
What
Is it a basic
exactly?
story? But
Yeah.
how did it continue on for you to be well into your, very early 50s to continue with slot carring? Like, tell me your story.
Okay. The first drink we meet is on me because it's not the early 50s anymore. Um, but thanks for being so polite. Um, it started in my company. A colleague came up and said, "Hey, I know a few guys that do Carrera racing. You want to have a look? You want to join in? You want to give it a try?" I said, "Yeah. I had a Carrera track when I was like 6 years old under the Christmas tree. I loved it. I found out later that actually my granddad and my dad already raced on it like for days before Christmas, and their wives couldn't get them off the track, so to say, before they had to actually wrap it as my uh, Christmas gift. But yes, it was a colleague in my company who said, I know a few guys, you want to join? And I said, yes. Uh, and since then, I'm hooked with the club. I'm in
Okay.
still. And that's like, oh, give me a sec, that must be 20 plus years now.
Oh wow. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what is your preferred way to race? Are you like an analog guy, the digital? What brought you back?
It was analog
Okay.
because in those days, digital was not around
Hmm.
yet. I started to do an analog 1 to 24
Okay. Straight away.
scale straight away. Um, I got to know a few people then in Munich, which is like 200 kilometers from where I live, roughly 200 kilometers. And I started to do 24 hours races
Wow.
in 32s. And at that time, the very first digital systems came up before Carrera. It was a French system called Davic from two guys. One was named David, the other one Victor. That's how the name came up, Davic. And I was invited to race a 24 hours digital race
Oh wow.
in Belgium with excuse me, with 1 to 32 fly cars.
Okay.
Those fly cars, the GT fly cars that had the front motor still in.
Wow. Okay.
And the track was so big, they had to put it in a gym. You know, the track had 70 meters of track of lane length. It was an old
Holy cow.
polysteel track. So before the polysteel we know now, there has
Hmm.
already been a polysteel company out there. And they used the old polysteel track and put in the crossings and the digital systems on that track. And it was an unbelievable experience because we went there as a group of like 6 home racers, more or less, or little
Yeah.
club racers, and we became third.
Oh wow.
And
So your first 24 hours, you became third.
exactly.
You ranked
And
third.
it
Yeah.
was it knocked us off our feet because everybody was laughing at us because we had the most heaviest car. Of course, we choose a BMW. I mean, it was German guys. I was the only Austrian. Uh, they choose a BMW M3 from Fly. Uh, and what we did is it was so fiddly for us that we put in lead wherever we could find an open space in that chassis. And when, before you go to 24 hours race, you have to check the car, or the organizer checks the car,
Yeah.
and they put it on a scale. They were going like, what? This can't be true. Is this your car? And we said, yes. And they said, can you please open it? Because we don't believe it. And so the lead stripes that we glued in, like every open space we could find, it turned out that it was exactly the right decision, because coming down long straights, we could set the brakes earlier because the weight would push the car still into the corner, where the lightweight cars would like start to fly around. We were just like a tank rolling through the corner.
Oh wow. Okay.
uh, and that was an experience, well, I'll never forget. And there are
So
still
so
pictures on
take
my Facebook side. Sorry, yes.
no, that's good. I didn't mean to cut you. So take me through that. So like I hear everyone saying, "Oh, there's a 24 hour. There's a 24 hour." You guys were 6 guys to one team, so you take shifts, I imagine. Like take me
Yes,
through like a
we
from
took, okay, we took, you can decide on however you want to have it. There might be rules and regulations coming up with a minimum driving time per driver
okay.
and a maximum driving time per driver. Because like if you've got one pro with you, uh, he will do like 22 hours. I'm overdoing it now, but he'll do the 22-hour
Yeah.
driving, and the rest will go for like half an hour and say, "Yeah, I was there, I had fun." And the pro will kick, yeah.
Okay. Are
But
you guys all
but
staying in the gym together, or does someone go home, goes and feeds the dog, and then he comes back and?
well, being in Belgium, that means an 8 hours drive from where we are. So
Oh,
no
okay,
dog
yeah.
feeding, no
That makes sense.
no dog feeding. No one had his dog with him. No, no. So
Okay.
what we came up with is, we said, how long can each of us drive as a stint?
Hmm.
So it becomes very much like real racing. From, like putting on a switch, you're into a mode of real racing, which means how long can you drive? You want to drive during night, having just the lights of the car, most of the area light turned down, or you just want to drive during daylight, or how long can you drive? How long do you want to drive? We came up with 1 hour shifts.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um, and then we found our specialists for the night and our specialists for the day, which means if you put the roster of your driving shifts correctly or right, some of the guys can sleep like 2 or 3 hours. Because what you, of course, need is, you have one driver, you need one guy for maintenance, and you've got one marshal.
Mm.
So 3 guys are blocked, and the other two are off. Now, if you put the sequence correctly, you might have like 1 or 2 guys with 3 hours of sleep, which is the maximum then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he had the most sleep, so coming back to the track, he's the one that's most relaxed. And
Wow.
so suddenly tactics kick in.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
only the car, not only the driving, not only the setup, the drivers. So yes,
Okay.
it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, because we ended doing then a European Championship. We used to participate then.
Okay.
We became second, by the way, so vice European champions.
There you go.
Yeah. Um, and the team was just unbelievable. I mean, we were like,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
sworn in, and everybody knew how the others would drive.
So
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. I just that's good.
Sorry.
I
Yeah.
got a whole bunch of other questions. So my last one on this topic really is when you're in that zone of the 24 hours, what are you looking at the car? Are you looking at the car? Are you looking ahead? What's your mindset at this point? Tunnel vision? Like what do you see?
Complete tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Complete tunnel vision. That's my personal experience. Watch
Okay.
out. Experiences are different.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my experience. And I loved it. I loved this tunnel vision.
Really.
Because it was, in the end, I could drive for 1.5, close to 2 hours. bringing exact the same lap time, lap after lap, within 2 or 3 tenths,
Wow.
which is the goal to achieve without dropping or falling out, of course.
Yeah.
So my team boss said, "You drive like a sewing machine, you know? It's always the same thing at the same spot."
Oh my goodness.
That's 20 years ago. Okay, I'm not that anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Still.
but the tunnel was the greatest for me. Being in the tunnel, there's nothing else around, and you just concentrate on your car.
That's
You
awesome.
know the track, and you suddenly start to play with the other cars. Meaning, we used to do crazy things during driving, and it was a lot of fun because it always worked. It's especially when you drive digital and you're side by side. You've got a driver on the car that's got nearly the same speed as you, lap by lap. You sometimes you're ahead, sometimes he's ahead, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't get away, and the other one can't get away. You have this long straight, and you after like 5 or 10 laps going side by side, you know the braking point for each corner of the other car as well. You know it exactly where he's going to brake. So what we did is trying to stay side by side on a long straight, and then suddenly brake earlier, which confused the other car completely, which means he went off and he could do
Oh man.
the rest of the lap. So it was
It's
it
mind
was more
games.
like absolutely it
Oh
became in
wow.
the end it became a mind game, you know.
Oh wow, that's such a different level. I was not expecting that. I mean, I always hear about, oh, guys are doing 24 hours, and I'm like, okay, yeah, great, guys, 24 hours. But you think about it, and even just watching some of your videos from the fest, watching Massimo um, just do 5 laps in an F1, makes you realize the concentration and the physical aspect of it. Like, there's no physical stress at Mercedes World, but in a real life car, it's just completely. So I could just imagine now that 24 hour. That's thank you for taking me through that. That was really great. That was really great to hear.
Sorry, yeah, yeah.
Um,
We had a sentence. It's all between your. It starts between your ears.
yeah.
So it's
Okay.
up here.
Yeah. That's that's awesome. So at this point, then, what is your preferred way to race? Are you an analog guy or are you a digital guy?
Analog,
Analog, straight. Yeah.
analog. I still do like the digital
Okay.
driving, but from how I experienced it first, meaning driving on huge tracks, huge layouts, where you had the time to think of which lane change you want to use next for what move.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, those small digital tracks are stress to me because I concentrate on driving first,
Okay.
and then I concentrate on how can I overtake. And being driving on those short tracks is I don't get it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Or I'm getting too old for it. Maybe.
Okay, no, it's all good. To each their own. It's all. I mean, it's that's what's great about slot cars. Everyone has their thing that they can take from it, and everyone loves something about it specific, and that's what's so great about it.
Mhm, mhm.
So is 124 just because that's what you were first introduced to? Like the differences between 124 to 132. What turns you off from 132? Why not be the norm?
Um, it's just a question on what the majority in the club
Okay.
prefers.
Okay.
Um, I still, as you could see, I still buy my 32s. I still got my 32s. I still set up my 32, and thank God our sister club came up with a 32 uh, race series now
Okay.
with BMW M1s, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
So then, out of all this, why did you start like? What convinced you to start a YouTube channel? What pushed you to be like, hey, I gotta do this?
it's a guy from the other side of the world named Travis,
Oh yeah. Oh,
mate, because he used to live like 1.5 hours away from me in Austria when he was in Austria.
oh wow. Okay.
I found a comment of him on Facebook saying before he moved to Austria, because he's got relatives to visit here,
Mm-hmm.
that he does every second year, I think.
Okay.
I found a comment on Facebook, hey, I'm here in Austria, I'm bored. Where's a slot track? And I replied, where are you? And he wrote back like 1.5 hours away from me. And I said, well, I know a slot track 1.5 hours of drive away from you. And we decided to meet. We had a lot of fun. We went to our club track. I explained a few things to him, and he said, well, wait, let me record that. And he recorded it for his channel. And after recording, he said, hey, you've got a natural talent of explaining and telling things. Why don't you do a YouTube channel? I said, nah, come on. What do I do on YouTube? But thinking about it, discussing it, it is a way of trying to attract people in the area to come watch and try.
That's awesome.
That's how it all started. And then it was just like it went like a snowball, you know. German-speaking YouTubers contacted me, Austrians.
Yeah.
I did my first bunch of videos. I did exactly the same video in German and then in English, because I noticed that the English videos created more replies.
Really?
Yes, more comments. So I thought I'll do both. It was too stressful in the end, I have to admit.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I'm going to stick to English, but I'm very thoroughly watching my statistics on YouTube.
Okay.
To see who's watching what. And I have to admit, more than 50% are coming from English-speaking countries. So it's the UK, it's the US, it's Canada, and it's other countries that don't speak German, and only like maximum 30% of German-speaking countries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's why I switched on the subtitle thing to, yeah.
That's funny. Your native tongue, and then you're switching subtitles to the native tongue, but you're doing it in English. It's just, but I guess it worked because that's how I found you, right? It was a suggested video way back in back in the day.
Okay.
And next thing you know, it's like talking to Massimo. They're like, "Oh yeah, Nico," and I'm like, "Oh, from him." I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." And it's just one of those. We're eventually we're gonna find each other, right?
Yeah.
And what class is your favorite class to drive?
My favorite class is we do IROC classes, which means one guy prepares 4 cars.
Okay.
They stay in the lane, which means each driver has to race with each
car
lane and car, which means if you're not that good in setting up cars, it doesn't matter. You can have like 3 race cars and 1 crap car. It doesn't matter, because everybody participating needs to drive all 4 cars in the best possible way as a driver, because you can't tinker on the car. The car stay in lane. It's you driving it.
Oh, that's awesome.
That makes a difference.
And that's your preferred way to race?
So I love that, because you can have, I don't know, we call those classes, some of those cars we call like very challenging for your character.
Okay. Okay. So
if you know what I mean, yeah.
Yeah. We'll keep it at that. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about really the tuning, because that's some of my favorite videos that you put out is the tuning, and you've sent me some, and I've really to dive in, and that's how we actually got to talking, because I said, hey, I have some questions about guides and whatnot, and we ended up here. What is it about tuning that not that you enjoy, but how do you approach it? How do you approach the tuning? I know, is there a specific technique? Do you start with this something specific and then work forward?
First of all, yeah. First of all, whenever I buy a car, I open it up. I had a massive discussion with Rule, not massive meaning when we were not fighting, it was just long. It was a very long discussion, because I said, whenever I buy a car, used or new, I open it and have a look at it. Now, Rahul's approach is more, I buy a car new, out of the box, I take it out of the box, I put it on the track, and it needs to run well. Yes, nowadays, most slot cars do that. The days when I started, not one slot car would do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I still open it when I get it in my hands. How do I approach the tuning? I want to set up a car that suits my driving style. My driving style may be different to yours, may be different to the next guy, may be different to the next guy. When we swap cars in our club, like, give it a go. You want to try? The other guy might come up and say, I can't drive your car. I just can't. It feels like crap. But when I drive it, I've got the fastest lap times, which means it's very different how each member of our club sets up his own car. So my approach is I want to make it my race car that I get the most out of this particular car.
So that, like, see, in my head, because I'm still new to this, okay,
Yeah.
I tune my cars, meaning that I'll open them up, clean them up, put some grease, whatever. I'm learning about, braking and the gearing and the
Mm-hmm.
obviously braking the motor. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
love about Carrera. There's very minimal that you can do I mean, there's a lot you can do to Carrera cars, but there's,
Yes.
yes and no. I understand. But after, for example, I had someone explain to me how they brake in their gears. They push down the tire on one side because they're like, if the car is moving back and forth, why wouldn't you brake in the gears left and right to put a bit of pressure left? I'm like, okay, I thought that was pretty smart. But after you've broken in the gears, after you've broken in the motor, after you've put oil in the bearings, after maybe you've changed the bearings, like the simple stuff that you think, well, do this, do that,
Yeah. Yeah.
make it,
Yeah.
like you showed in your video, make the axle pass through.
Friction. Yeah. Yeah.
Once you've done the kind of, okay, what's next on the math list, what makes a car that you've tuned or someone else tuned any different? Is it just the skill? Like, why would I have any trouble running your car? Like, how can you say that this car, two of the same cars are tuned by two different people? Is it just because one person didn't go the extra step? At which step do you stop? No? Explain that to me,
How? Um,
please.
let's take you're driving mostly digital, isn't it?
Right now, yes.
Yes. So you can adjust the way the brakes work on the digital set to the way you like it, right?
Yes.
Which might be full, three
Right,
quarters.
right now it's full because everyone smashes into each other in the pit lane, so I have no choice.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Um, there are guys that prefer talking analog now.
yeah,
Okay,
no problem.
that prefer to have a car run into the corner. So they get off acceleration sooner than others, but still the car will roll into the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are guys that prefer to have a brake set, like you just described it, to full, meaning he can go right into the corner, still on the throttle, releasing for a short full brake, and then starts to accelerate. So it's more like a stop and go.
Mm-hmm.
They are fast. There is no right or wrong in this, in either or. It's just what's the fastest way for you to drive? Is it rolling through the corner or is it like a stop and go? Now, taking that, um, you can arrange that on the gear setting already, meaning what gear ratio do you use? You can influence that. That was the missing word, sorry.
Okay.
Not being a native speaker.
It's
You can
perfect.
influence that behavior of the car by the gear ratio, meaning if you have a longer gear ratio, the car tends to roll into the corner more. If you have a short gear ratio, it's more like a stop and go. What kind of track are you looking at? Just small segments with straights, or has it a long straight? Which means if I use a short gear with a stop and go, and I have a long straight, the cars with a longer gear ratio will overtake me on that because the RPMs will come to an end in the short gear. I'm better out of the corners because I've got more punch, more acceleration. But on a long straight, the other guy will overtake me. So you need to look at your driving style, what track will I go to, and set up the car your way. And putting weight into the car also changes the behavior of the car.
Okay.
Did I confuse you completely now?
No, actually, it was more of like a light bulb moment because
Okay.
I've been, and this is just me, whatever. Again, I don't usually like to talk on the Beyond the Slot because it's about you, the guest.
Yeah.
But I have, Ernie's car here, my first purchase from him, and I have a car that I got off Massimo,
Mm,
and I never understood this car has a more RPM motor, 22 versus a
mhm,
20, but this car
mhm,
is a scale auto and it rips on my track.
mhm, mhm.
And I never understood. But the brake ratio is a lot lighter in this car, and I never understood. I'm like, if you're not setting the brake, how do you adjust the brake? And it, everything you just said
If
made
you
sense to me.
if you leave the brake at the same setting on your digital system that you always have it and you never change it, you
Mhm.
can still change the behavior of the car with the gear ratio.
Okay. See that I knew that people were. I'm like starting my words because it's like I got all this information now. But I always knew people talking about gear ratios and whatnot, and I'm like, what's that giving you? And now it clicks in an analog car. There is no brake
Like,
force that you can set. You have to set that with. It
yeah,
just clicked right now.
you have
Thank you.
you have manual gear shifting in your car that you use, or you have an automatic car?
I learned on manual. I This is the first year I have
Okay,
all automatic. Yeah.
go back to your manual.
Yeah.
You've got I don't know, 4 or 5 gears
Mm-hmm.
going forward.
5 gears. Yeah.
You start off with the first gear, which means small gear ratio to accelerate. But if you want to go full speed, you've got the fifth gear,
Yeah.
which is the longest gear ratio. Now, if you try and imagine taking that car on a racetrack, you don't want to go through a small corner in fifth gear. You'll you'll put the gears down to like third or
Mm-hmm.
second. But when you start to accelerate out, you'll go second, third, fourth, fifth. So you want a long gear ratio on that long straight. That's exactly how it works the same in slot cars. You just can't change gears. You've
Yeah.
got one gear ratio that should suit the track best and your driving, uh, your way of driving.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to thank you for explaining that to me. That's what There've been some great guys online I've spoken to and asked questions. I'm not saying that any of them or less. It's just sometimes it takes a while before it clicks, and I'm still new to all this analog stuff. So I want to thank you for your input on that. That really.
But
I'm
it's the
glad that
same.
I got it.
It's a,
I hope somebody out there gets it too. That was a great way of explaining it.
but it's the same with your digital car. I mean, still,
Mm-hmm.
you can adjust the brakes on the setting on the digital setting,
Yeah,
but still, if you use a different gear ratio,
it'll be different.
it
Yeah.
changes the behavior of the car. Yeah.
Okay. Um, So then, I guess for you, is there a real big difference between the 124 and the 132 tuning, or is it just the size, or there's a complete different mindset?
The tuning is the same.
Okay,
Um, they behave differently on track.
okay,
The the 32 cars are more swirly.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if I get that across correctly, but the
Yeah,
24 car forgives more if you've got a bad driving style.
because of the weight.
It's more for yeah, of the
Yeah.
size, of the weight, of the wheelbase. It's more forgiving.
Okay. Okay.
The 32 is like small and nervous, and
Okay.
but still, I've experienced 32 cars that behave like 24 cars. Um, and going back to the old days, so to say, to the 24 hours race, our team boss once set up a 32 car behaving like a 24, and we were miles ahead.
Really, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So, what do you consider then to be track ready in your expertise or the way you like to tune cars? Like, at what point is it like this car is good and I'm not going to push it anymore, or is there still? Are you
It's
always
never
tuning?
ready.
It's
It's
never
never
ready.
ready.
Okay.
It's never ready. Um, it's how do I show? Yeah, well, I guess the basic line is when you're always in the lead and you've got always the best track times. Also, talking analog now,
Mm-hmm.
on the outside or inside lane, and you're still well ahead, you did something right, but it doesn't mean you're at the end.
Okay. Okay.
And,
Fair
and of
enough.
course, sometimes we are also overdoing it. Think, well, maybe like this little tenth that I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
get out more, and then you bust it.
yeah. Okay, just go overboard. Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I have a question, but I'm gonna reverse the questions here. I actually have a Dave from Slaughter, because of the UK Fest, where you guys hooked up.
Yep.
You got to meet each other. He asked me to ask you a question. He goes, "Oh, when you talk to Nico, he goes, this is a question you should ask him," and I have no idea why, but here we go.
Okay.
How do you hold your controller?
um, Now, coming from the old Carrera days
Hmm.
with the still out there thumb controller,
Okay, plunger style, yeah.
exactly. Having the new pistol ones where you drive like with one or two fingers, I flip the pistol controller around and still drive only with my thumb.
Oh,
You've got a controller somewhere near you, a pistol controller.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
okay, go and get it.
yeah. I'll get it.
Sorry for the interruption, guys, but hey, Dave, that's your mistake. But brilliant question, and I hope I could get everybody confused in the UK. Obviously, I did. So I was just trying to fill the gap. Exactly. Now hold it like you hold it. Okay. Um, lay it flat. Still holding it the way. No. Yeah. Okay.
Like gangster
No.
style here.
Put it. No. Yeah. No. Not that way. Um, what I mean is, like flatten your hand so it's like 180 degrees turned. Yeah. And now the handle that's vertical towards you. Yeah, this one too. Exactly. And now you've got it. That's Nico and Dude style.
Oh man.
And I guess
Okay.
I got many people confused in the UK driving that way. They were going like, "What the hell is he doing?"
But you know what? Doing it this
What?
way, I'm used to because I always like the Carrera switch lanes to be in the front. I didn't. This was on. This was on standby. Oops. But look at that. Mind blown. Mind blown.
One thing you have to keep in mind: using those two fingers, you've got one more limb versus the thumb. You've only got one. You know what I mean? Is limb the correct word? Do I
The
get
limb,
it
yeah,
right
yeah.
there?
The
Yeah.
le pointeur in French. I sorry, yeah,
Okay. So this you've only got one versus here you've got 2 points.
yeah. And the Frankenslot even fits nice on the hand and just
I know.
what's going on?
They all do.
Yeah.
Believe me, they all do. No matter what handle you use, they all do.
This is you heard it here first,
I'm,
folks. You heard it here first.
I can drive with the two fingers here,
Hmm.
but on the track I know best, our club track, I'm 1/10 slower per lap than going the old-fashioned way.
That
Can't help it. I don't know why.
that's okay. So thank you, Dave from Slaughter. That really we were talking. He's like, oh, you're talking with Nico. Just ask him this question. Don't I
ask him
won't.
that question.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm like, okay. He's like, trust me, you won't regret it. Perfect.
Now you know why.
Okay, so I'm gonna wrap up with my normal questions, but if there was one if there was one innovation that the slot car companies would come out with, or if there was something, a new car or a new technology, what innovation would you appreciate, or what innovation do you want to see the slot car companies do or have, you know, invent or
I'll
whatever?
go. I'll go with Rahul now. Um, Check your quality checkers, meaning the slot cars that come out should work out of the box better. They already improved over the last like 10 years a
Hmm.
lot. They did, but you can still find slot cars like the, don't mention it beside Rahul Datsun 510, that doesn't have the full, how do you say, it doesn't come out of the box fully ready all the time,
Okay.
which they should. And I think Rahul's comparison during one of our lives in the UK is absolutely right. If companies manage to come out with RC cars this size that you take out of the box, put it on the floor, and they fully work, why can't slot car companies come out with 99.5% of their delivered slot cars being in an operational mode when you take them out of the box and put them on the track without having the need to fiddle and twinkle on them to make them run. So no rubbing of wheels in the wheel wells, no gears that are broken when you get the car delivered already, or a proper gear mesh. It all works with the small RC cars. Why doesn't it work on slot cars?
Better quality control. I get it. I just want to mention one thing. We mentioned 3 names. The first name was Travis, which is the Slot Car News. Guy? Yeah, that's Slot Car guy from that Slot Car News. Then we have Dave. Dave is from Slot R, and Raul from Conquest Racing.
Conquest.
Yeah, let's just make
and
sure that.
You mentioned Massimo as well.
And Massimo from MP Slot Car. Yeah, I think everyone on the internet knows my man crush on Massimo. I think we're all good about that. So that I don't know how that came about, but all right. Is there anything you want to say to your subscribers and your viewers before we go? No.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
It keeps my channel alive.
Okay. So in Austrian that means thank you. I appreciate everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. Every single one of them. And it was just a blast at the UK festival. If people come up that you've never seen actually in your life, and that they start talking to you normal, like they know you for ages about slot cars, and you go like, who is this guy? You know? And suddenly you find out, no, he's one of your subscribers, and he knows all your videos to the very end.
That must feel good, eh?
And that was a blast. It was like, Jesus, what's going on here?
Yeah.
To all of us, all of us had this experience because we haven't met our subscribers yet anywhere so compressed in one area. And if you have I think it was 5,000 or 6,000 visitors the 2 days, you do have a few that actually know your face or know your hat.
There you go.
So,
all right, that was my last question. This has been very informative. Even for me, I'm sure after we get off this, I'm going to be blasting you with another million questions. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe if you found anything that you saw here that you liked. Again, this is where I jumble because I have no script. But thank you, Nico, again for taking the time all the way from Austria to
very welcome
to do this. And guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.
See ya.